Hello, hello, and welcome back to our channel for what is now week 7 of the Sideline Spice Power Rankings, winners and losers. Brought to you courtesy of the boys at the Vault Studio. I'm Ryan and Luca. I can see you hate me saying it, but I'm feeling better and better as the weeks go on. I've still got the hat on, and obviously you've still got some strong feelings about that. But how are you doing this week?
You'd be surprised. So I realised that David Freese was still on the Dodgers roster. He makes me still wake up screaming at night. So I'm actually on the Red Sox bandwagon for the World Series. I didn't want a Red Sox-Dodgers World Series, but here we are. So I'm going to make the best of a terrible situation. You're still insufferable, though.
No Sox. Anyway, once again, we've watched the games, we've ranked the teams, and again, we've come away with some picks of the bunch. This week and from now on, bringing you our two biggest winners in the form of our biggest risers in this week's rankings, two losers in the form of our two biggest fallers, an honourable mention for someone, something, or some team who deserves a particular shout-out, and our favourite segment, Luca Loses It, otherwise known as our dishonourable mention. As always, at the end of our video, check out the link in the description below to find our complete rankings, and please have your say. But for now, on to our biggest winner.
All right, yeah. It's been a crazy week, my worst tipping week, which is usually a signal of a lot of upsets. But our rankings didn't move that much. I think 7 weeks in, we've kind of got a feel for who's good and who's bad. Ryan, kick us off with our biggest winner of the week.
Carolina Panthers. Beating and improving by the week Philadelphia Eagles team in their house, 21-17 behind 21 straight fourth quarter points from a 17-point hole. It obviously had a big effect on the team here at Sideline Spice, as you're our joint biggest riser of the week, moving up 3 places to number 7 in this week's consensus rankings, and a quiet 4-2 overall record, with their only losses coming last week on the road in another hard-fought match against the Redskins, and at the confusing division rival Atlanta Falcons. Cam was once again all kinds of clutch in this game, leading 3 straight touchdown scoring drives in his team's biggest ever comeback victory. Huge point of this game and for the Panthers moving forward was the return of Greg Olsen, who caught the last touchdown pass to ice the game. He missed the previous 3 straight prior to this one, and in that time the Panthers averaged only 27 receiving yards per game from that sort of tight end group. Having such an important player back for Cam and this team on offense could have a massive influence on this team's continued development as they head into a massive week 8 matchup at home against the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, they're going to make me nervous next week. Under the radar, and Greg Olsen's been quietly the most consistent tight end in football over the last half decade. Yeah, so moving on to our next winner. So, Bo, my friend Bo, if you're watching this is for you. The Indianapolis Colts have made our winner's circle. Enjoy this. You know, I don't like pumping up your teams, but they've earned it this week after they trashed the Bills. I think it was by the tune of 37-5. So, return of the Mac. I mean, good song, even better performance on the football field. 126 yards rushing with a touchdown on the ground, 33 yards receiving, 1 in the air. He was by far the dominant player on the field in what was otherwise which was a very one-sided affair. Andrew Luck didn't have to do much. He only threw for around 150 yards, but by gosh, did he make every one of those throws count. He threw for 4 touchdowns, so it was brutally efficient in his limited attempts, and can't overstate how big the return of T.Y. Hilton was for him. Only had 30-something odd yards, but 2 touchdowns. It gave that actual red zone presence that Indianapolis have so sorely missed over his absence. Darius Leonard, same last name as my boy here. He's probably he's up there with Derwin James as my favourites for Rookie of the Year. But unlike Derwin James, who we all were pretty big on going into the year, he was, relatively unheralded. He wasn't a first-round pick. It was a second or third. He wasn't a blue-chip prospect, but he had 17 tackles to lead everyone, and before he was injured after week 4, he was leading the entire NFL, not just rookies, in tackles. He was also amongst the lead leaders in sacks as well. And I think he's still up there for both, even after having missed some time. I mean, he's blown me away. The Colts are a different team when he's actually out there on the field. Now, they're on the road this week, but they're playing against Oakland, who have just gutted their team even further by trading their Amari Cooper for yet another first-round pick. So, I mean, if there was ever a good time to go on the road in a hostile environment, this is probably it.
Yeah, and they've moved up 3 places also to number 26 in this week's rankings. Which brings us to our honourable mention, Chandler Catanzaro. This year has undoubtedly been the year of the field goal, or probably more appropriately, the missed field goal. In Week 7's overtime matchup between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Cleveland Browns, Catanzaro, after having already missed an extra point attempt and a 40-yard field goal attempt during the game, put the matchup to bed with a 59-yarder in overtime, the longest ever field goal in overtime, mind you, and gave his team the W. As such, the Bucs avoided both their 5th consecutive loss and the consequent continued slide that would have come with such a result, instead giving his team the boost they needed to match the biggest rises of the weeks, the Panthers and the Colts, jumping 3 places to number 22 in the rankings.
Yeah, I mean, as a big kick, you think that your confidence would be lacking after missing 2 very, very makeable kicks before that. Then he just goes out, kicks a 59-yarder in a pressure situation. After having blown a big lead, mind you, they were up big before the missed kick. Anyway, our first loser. I love that I always end up getting losers of teams I don't like. So the Cincinnati Bengals are our biggest loser of this week. They fell only 2 spots from 9 to 11, but it was so much more than that, because they were playing against the Kansas City Chiefs team who, yes, Kansas City were favoured, but it was seen as a big test for, this Bengals team that has been quite impressive this season. It was a test to see whether they were a legitimate contender in the AFC. Instead, they laid a big goose egg, going down 45-10. Their chances to establish their playoff credentials were they looked embarrassed on national TV. How's this for a stat? So AJ Green actually literally accounted for over 50% of their total offense against what was previously the worst ranked D in the league. That's a disgusting stat.
They had 230 yards of total offense.
Slightly less. Oh yeah, about 230. Yeah, and I mean Dalton threw for around 150, and AJ Green had about 110 of that. So, AJ Green's going to get his, but I mean, against a defense that was ranked worst in yards allowed per game in the NFL, that is an abysmal showing. I get Kansas City putting up 45. They've probably got the best offense in the NFL, but scoring 10 against them, nah. That's going to land you in a losers column every single day. Now, Jeff Mixon, 50 yards, pedestrian, 3.8 yards per carry. How's this for a name? Jeff Driscoll, a 6th-round pick from 2016, actually looked more like an NFL quarterback than Andy Dalton in his limited action. Look, Dalton's had some impressive performances, not just this season, but in his career. But I realised something today. He's literally the Bengals organization personified. His week-to-week inconsistency mirrors that of the club that he quarterbacks. And you don't know which Dalton you're going to get any given week. So they've got Tampa Bay at home next week, which, a week ago I would have said was a gimme. But Tampa Bay have, like Kansas City, they've got an electric aerial offense. And the Tampa Bay wide receivers are really going to test this under-siege Bengals defensive back unit.
To be fair, you do know what Andy Dalton you're going to get in a nationally televised game. You're going to get the full part.
You're not going to get the red rocket. You're going to get the red water pistol. I don't know. Okay, who's our next loser, Ryan?
Jacksonville Jaguars. You lost again to an average, albeit improving, Houston Texans team at home, 7-20. And as such, your fall continues, and I love it. You fall this week a further 2 places to number 13. For all of your woes and poor play throughout the year, and when I say I'm talking to you, Blake Bortles, your most vociferous supporters always fall back on the fact that your defense, and to an extent, Bortles and that offense elevated within the safety of Florida's autumn warmth. Well, that ends here. And frankly, after saying it for weeks, on end, on deaf ears in the Sideline Spice group chat, the writing is on the wall. Bortles must go. Houston didn't even need to be good. They were, but they didn't need to be. As the Jags turned the ball over 3 times, benched Bortles at halftime, and consequently lost their 3rd straight game. And then they capped off the night with a rumoured implosion in the locker room afterwards. I'd imagine after running his mouth off at every other quarterback in the league's skills, he'd finally had his moment of clarity regarding his own. Jalen Ramsey. Consider this for a moment. In these 3 straight losses, Bortles has 8 turnovers to 2 touchdowns. They've been shut out in the first half of every one of those games for the first time in franchise history. And they, in that time, were outscored 57-0. It doesn't look like it's going to get much better for the reeling Jags, as this week they head to London for a home game against the Eagles. And according to Coach Doug Marrone, a coin flip is set to decide who starts between Bortles and career backup Cody Kessler. Ouch.
Can they start the coin instead of both of those options?
Luca loses it.
Luca loses it. Well, Ryan already lost a little bit against the Jaguars, but now it's my turn to lose it. So I heard in the rumour mill that the New York Giants attempted to trade Eli Manning for an apple. Turns out they botched the paperwork and they ended up trading Eli Apple for a 4th. And then they threw in a 7th just because they felt generous. Now, that apple had nutritional value. That apple could have fueled Saquon's beastly runs. Odell Beckham doesn't drink water, and apples are 70% water, so it could have hydrated him. It provided real, tangible value to the Giants organization. And instead, they have to trot out this senile geriatric at quarterback because they botched the paperwork. And they lost faithful, innocent bystander Eli Apple in all this mess. He did not deserve to go to the Saints. They needed Eli Apple. They needed the apple, but they did not need Eli Manning. In all seriousness, like there's talks of benching Blake Bortles. There's talks of dealing Derek Carr for and yet another first-round pick. Why on earth is there no talks of benching Eli Manning? The one quarterback that's probably been worse than Bortles this year consistently is Manning. And unlike Bortles, who's young and has a chance to turn it around someday, somewhere, Eli's writing is on the wall. Let Kyle Lauletta play. Let an inanimate carbon rod play. At least the rod can take hits and get back up again. Jeez. So, New York, I've lost it at you.
Luckily, there's not much room to fall, so they've only fallen 1 place to number 28 in this week's rankings.
There's definitely not much to fall when you're towards the bottom already. Oh, God, I need a long bath after that. Anyway, that is all about we've got time for today. So if you like what you heard, want to check out more from us, leave a like or subscribe. We're new still, so every small token of your support makes a really big difference. So if you're viewing this on the Vault's Facebook feed, our YouTube channel should be linked in the comments below. If you're viewing this on our YouTube, all our socials, as well as those of our friends at the Vault Studio, can be found in the description below. That's all from us this week. Until next time, guys.
Thanks, guys.